What is going on, everyone? This is Gaffney for the United Devils. In this match, I'm going to do my reaction to the game and the ratings, the player ratings. And we just lost 3-1 at home at Old Trafford in our own backyard in our first game of the season. It was a shocking result, just like any home losses, but especially because it's our first game of the season and we're against Palace, it's a hard loss to take. I'm going to get straight into my ratings for the players in this game. So let's get started with David De Gea. So we started David De Gea in goal today. I think most of us would have expected that. I don't think Dean Henderson was ready to start the first game of the season yet. Although De Gea did have a lot of wobbles last season, I think he was always going to be the goalkeeper that was ready to take this game on. He wasn't bad today. He actually saved a penalty, but it didn't matter in the end because it was taken again. I mean, personally, I don't think it was a penalty to begin with in the first place, and I don't think it needs to be retaken. I think that rule is pretty ridiculous, let alone the first penalty that was given. But nonetheless, it didn't matter because there was a second penalty taken and it was scored. Other than that, he played a few dodgy balls out of the back at the first half that I distinctly remember. I didn't see any major errors from him. But considering he saved the penalty, although it didn't matter, he still saved the penalty. So I'm going to give De Gea a 6. I probably would have gave him a 7 if there wasn't any dodgy passing in the first half, like I'm sure you remember. So, on to the next position as the right back. We didn't have our number one right back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, start. It was actually Timothy Fosu-Mensah. I think I'd assume Aaron Wan-Bissaka's struggling with fitness or something like that, which is why Fosu-Mensah started. Fosu-Mensah was average at best. His passing was poor, his movement and stuff. He didn't offer a lot going forward, and he definitely wasn't solid in defence. I'd probably give Fosu-Mensah a 5 today, which is probably generous. I could easily give him lower. I don't think you can give him any higher, but I don't think right back's Fosu-Mensah's best position. So moving on to the two centre-halves, which is our number one partnership as the two centre-backs, is Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire. I think we've all learned by now that these two don't complement each other very well. They don't work together. Together they are a calamity, as they were today. Maguire's good in the air, he's strong, he's a physical player. Lindelof is not particularly quick, he's not particularly good on the ball either. And he was weak, as we saw for Palace's first goal. It was actually very shocking. Lindelof needs to do better, he needs to be stronger there. Instead he gets bullied off, and I don't think De Gea can do a lot about that third goal. I don't think De Gea could have done a lot about the goals today, which is why I gave him a decent rating. But Lindelof was weak, Maguire was poor as well. I'll give Maguire a 5 and Lindelof a 4. Simply because I think Maguire offered a bit more going forward. I thought he brought the ball out definitely better than Lindelof did to deliver it to the midfield or possibly the final third. So I think Maguire did a little bit better than Lindelof today, although he was still poor. At left back we obviously had Luke Shaw, who he was injured for towards the end of last season. We didn't have him. I think he was a big loss to us actually. But nonetheless, he didn't have his best game today either. I think after lockdown, Luke Shaw last season, after lockdown, he was probably potentially our best player. He was consistent, he did well in every game, and he had a key role in our success. That wasn't the case today. Shaw's passing was off, he looked off, his form, his sharpness. You could tell he wasn't fully back into performing the best he can. So I'd give Luke Shaw a 5 because I know he can do a lot better as a left back. I think I rate Luke Shaw fully as a left back. Even though we're trying to buy a left back, which is completely understandable because Luke Shaw has big injury problems, I do think a centre half is actually more important personally. But Luke Shaw didn't perform to the best he can, so I'm going to give him a 5. Now we have the two central midfielders, and it was a very odd pairing of Pogba and Scott McTominay. McTominay played the defensive midfielder role. Not any idea why, because Matic is better in this position, Fred is better in this position, and even though Van der Beek isn't better in that position, he's probably still better than Scott McTominay. I've got no idea why. I think Ollie picked Scott on our first game back from lockdown. He's got some weird faith in him. I don't know why. I like Scott McTominay, but this was a terrible decision. Probably the worst decision. I think. Well, it's quite solidly or clearly, in my opinion, the worst decision in terms of the starting 11. He's simply not a central defensive midfielder. He can come on in some games and he can actually be a goal threat, as we've seen. He's not a central defensive midfielder. He's too rash on the ball. He's not as calm and as smooth or solid on the ball as a CDM needs to be. He was shocking. But it's not his position. So I'll give McTominay a 4 because we struggle to get the ball out from the back in the defence. Normally Matic can do that. Fred can do it as well, but McTominay couldn't even do the job today. So I'll give McTominay a 4. Pogba, bad game, didn't go well for him. He probably wasn't helped by the players around him in the sense that McTominay wasn't suited to the whole formation and situation. So I'd give Pogba a 5. In number 10, you've obviously got Bruno. Again, he didn't have his best game, but I thought he was probably, from his work rate, the way he was running back, and he was trying things, I'd probably give him a 6. He definitely wasn't the Bruno that we've seen before. I don't think it was his worst game for us. It would have been hard for Bruno to do anything in this game with that 2 central midfield pairing and how poor we were at the back. But he didn't have his worst game. His work rate was good. He was looking a bit more lively than all the other players, so I'd give Bruno a 6. On the left, you had Marcus Rashford. Was Rashford even playing today? Because I didn't notice him, and I don't think anyone else did. Rashford was shocking. I barely even saw Rashford on the ball today. A lot of the times he's nowhere to be seen. I'm going to give Rashford a 4. Obviously on the right, we had Dan James. Again, obviously Dan James only played the first half and a little bit of the second half. Actually no, I think I'm mistaken there. I think Dan James was taken off at half time and he was appalling for the first half. I can barely remember seeing him on the ball. Bringing on Greenwood was definitely a good substitution. You did a lot better. He offered a bit more, but it was a bad decision to start Dan James today. Martial, I'd probably give a 5, just an average performance. His work rate was a bit higher. He wasn't shocking. He didn't miss any sitters, but he didn't have a lot to work with today. So overall, the player ratings, I'd give David De Gea a 6. I'd give Fosu Mensah a 4. Lindelof a 4. Maguire a 5. Shaw a 5. McTominay a 4. Pogba a 5. Bruno a 6. Rashford a 4. And Dan James a 4. Martial a 5. Van de Beek looked a bit more promising as he came on. That finish actually looked quite difficult. He looked like a breath of fresh air when we brought him on. Should have been done earlier. But nonetheless, it was a shocking result today. We need to be doing a lot better. We need to get the signings in. Ollie, I'm personally a defender of Ollie. I think we should root for him. I think the Glazers are what's holding us back. But how can you defend Ollie when he's making decisions like playing Scott McTominay as a central defensive midfielder in this game when you've got Fred as an option, or Matic, I believe. So nonetheless, this is a shocking game. Very frustrated after this game. Let us know how you feel in the comments below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at GaffneyH02, and I'll see you in the next one.